Well, why don't we start out? Really pleased to have with us today Matt Petersen, who's the CEO of the LA Cleantech Incubator, also known as LACI. And one of the projects is the Transportation Electrification Partnership. And through that, they've just launched something that we're really pretty excited about. So first, congrats on getting a pilot zero emission zone even launched in the United States, which is fantastic. Can we start with the basics, Matt, from your perspective? Why is a zero emission zone important? What's the power of that tool?
Well, Bill, thanks for having me. Alicia, great to see you both, and for your great work as well in advancing transportation electrification. You know, for us, as we went through the work and through our Zero Emissions 2028 roadmap that the partnership established in terms of initial greenhouse gas and air pollution reduction goal and setting individual targets, we started to do the more granular work of how are we going to get to 60% of the medium duty delivery trucks on the road to be electric? How are we going to reduce, increase mode shift? How are we going to, of course, hit those emissions targets? And one of the ideas that came out of our goods movement working group was, well, what if we did a zone? The pieces of it, if not the entire concept, have been tried in Europe, as we talked about in our pre-interview, and it really came together where we decided to do a feasibility study with the LA Convention Center and some of the key partners and players in the space. And, you know, in the end, Convention Center at the time wasn't the right fit just because of the LA Auto Show would be really disruptive to try to create a one-year pilot for staging. And, you know, but we learned a lot. The Convention Center learned a lot. We're really grateful for their willingness to be in that feasibility process with us. And we decided to do an RFI countywide, and with some funding we had secured through the state legislature and their support, we were able to put $300,000 towards the pilot to get it started. And we had several communities apply to be the host of the pilot. And in the end, the committee selected Santa Monica, and really there's a lot of reasons why. Of course, Santa Monica's got a lot of concentration, different types of use types, commercial, retail, office, residential, that we think lend themselves to this pilot. And so that's the background. And now we're just putting out the call for technologies, and whether it's a startup or an established corporate player, a legacy player, a nonprofit, you know, whomever has a solution, we're interested to see how it might help those goals of establishing this zero emission zone in downtown Santa Monica.
That's great, Matt. That's a really exciting project, and really, really happy to hear about it. Wanted to understand a little bit more about what you're trying to test with this pilot. What are the key components of this pilot?
Yeah, it's obviously we're coming in with some preconceived notions of what we want to test. I mean, the larger takeaway we hope is how can this become a model for regions, you know, neighborhoods, whether it's downtown LA, Century City, you know, where you have a high concentration of last mile goods movement, goods delivery. And also for the mayor of LA, as he thinks about the zero emissions zone for somewhere in the city, this can hopefully be informing that and have some sort of version of it, a piece of that zone. So we're hoping to see, you know, what form factor, what modality will be most feasible. Is it e-cargo bikes? Is it you know, of course, other forms of three-wheel vehicles? You know, some might be proposing drones. We're not focused so much on aerial, but that might come to the fore. You know, how do we learn how to manage the curb? How do we prioritize the curb, access to the curb, price the curb? That's something a lot of people have been thinking about, and some people have been working on, and that's going to be, I think, a critical policy learning as well as a business model learning. And then how do we create staging areas? How do we, you know, there's not a lot of available space for opportunity charging in downtown Santa Monica or around the promenade. So how do we find a shared third-party space that, you know, the FedExes and UPSs and the Amazons of the world can access when they need to, or smaller, could be an operating center for smaller operators to be able to do EV van share. So how can they access, you know, a mom and pop shop who has delivery needs can access a last mile, you know, a zero emission solution too.
So, I mean, I think that's the powerful tool is, I think, the thing that really hits us. And let's maybe dig a little deeper into that. Where would you like this to go? If this is successful and we could maybe see it promulgated in LA, it also is a model for other cities across the United States where we have not really used that zero emission zone tool that Europe has really successfully rolled out.
Yeah, well, I think if we look at the silver linings of COVID, I mean, we've enjoyed quieter streets, cleaner air, less, the less vibration in their neighborhoods, particularly commercial segments of sectors of the city. Yeah, I think other cities enjoyed the same benefits that we did here in Los Angeles. So whether it's downtown areas in, let's say, New Orleans or parts of Manhattan or any urban core where you've got a concentration of commercial, retail, residential activity for food delivery, for package delivery, for B2B delivery. These are opportunities that we really want to embrace and see how we can use this as a model and share. I mean, and we've seen other cities like Houston really look at what we're doing in the Transportation Electrification Partnership and try to borrow from it as they created their Evolve initiative. And while Houston wouldn't be the place you imagine for leadership on electric vehicles, they've set an ambitious target of 30% of all the cars sold by 2030 to be electric. So hopefully they'll be eager partner in modeling what we're trying out in this situation too.
That's great. So Matt, wondering about your partners that you're working with on this effort. How did Santa Monica respond to being the selected city? Who's going to be on the team supporting this project moving forward? And who else needs to be on the team? Who are you looking forward to working with? Who needs to be at the table on planning out this project and supporting implementation?
Yeah, we have, of course, Santa Monica is a member of the Transportation Partnership, but we did a process where, made sure that the committee selecting the host and partner city was all kept it as clean as possible, and so that they didn't have any inside edge. Same for the city of LA neighborhoods, same sort of thing. We didn't want any prejudice there, but. Santa Monica really stood out because they were eager to help assemble the potential partners in the city and the neighborhood, and really test the different business models, and particularly City of LA, of course, the mayor's leadership is significant, not just in the region but nationally. Santa Monica is the place where every micromobility solution has started. Nearly every, certainly from Bird on. And we've seen all sorts of different form factors come to Santa Monica first, except for maybe the pogo stick. We didn't see that down here. But it's really, they stood out in their eagerness to partner. SCAG is a partner on helping us track the data and share the model with other cities in the region. The Mayor's Urban Movement Labs is a partner, and we're part of the selection committee. And we really want to see these different, again, it's an e-cargo bike. Maybe there's a form factor that we haven't seen. There's like the Renault Twizy that is Nissan brought over here, three-wheeled vehicles. I was in Paris and I rode a custom Red E startup there. Has created a electric moped with a special container that they use for FedEx last mile delivery in downtown Paris. So we're eager to see what comes to the fore and see what solutions work and make sense.
There are some remarkable solutions out there too, that if we could create the policy space encouraging them and maybe deterring other aspects, I think we could drive. What additional partners, you've walked through that, but how do you want them to get involved? Is it basically responding to the RFI? Is it just linking up through your website, or what's the best way to reach additional partners and have them reach you?
Yeah, we've certainly had conversations with major players like IKEA, who is a member of CalSTART. They have committed fully to have 100 electric trucks. I mean, they're delivering their furniture, so it's only their product. Yet they're going to be early adopter in driving change, and then of course the FedExes and Amazons and UPSs as they get their vehicles, electric vehicles on the road, are going to be critical. And then, of course, the food delivery. So whether it's you know, Postmates or whomever, who how can we work with them to incent their drivers to explore last mile delivery with another mode? Whether, you know, I live in Santa Monica right now, and I've had food delivered by bike, scooter, you know, so we know that it's happening. How do we really encourage different ways to deliver the food if we're going to have home or business delivery for those sorts of things? It's we're really excited. You know, I think that, as you said, Bill, we really need to figure out the market signals to encourage this further. And I think in this voluntary pilot mode, we'll see what those signals are, whether, of course, at the local level, they're going to be critical, curb access, and then what's state or regional incentives that might be put in place as Metro looks at congestion pricing. How can curb pricing be part of that?
I think that's really powerful, Matt. And I think as we've looked in the Drive to Zero program, it's these stacked levels of cross-supporting policies, incentives, inducements that are really going to be the driver. So you're really getting it right. We're testing how to get it right down at the local level. That's powerful.
And we'll have lots of failings, I'm sure. But that's the point of a pilot, right? You want to fail to learn and fail forward.
And it's a policy lab to do that. It's fascinating. Well, we're going to be tracking everything you do. We want to support what you're doing with that zero emission zone. It's fantastic, and help get the learnings out and the failings as they happen.
Great.
So Matt, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. And we appreciate our partnership with CalStart.
We do too with you.